Hello, welcome to this, your daily briefing. I've decided to tackle the issue of Fonseca and how we might proceed from his appointment. There is a new clip-on mic, a new iPhone 12. I can do no more, so hopefully you can all hear me at the back. So, looking at Fonseca, there is this thing about the enormous success at Shakhtar and then the kind of deflating time at Roma where he didn't really achieve anything at all. I don't know if he walked or mutual consent, but they weren't in a hurry to retain his services. So, first of all, let's have a quick look at Shaktar Donetsk. And I've gone back throughout the period that Fonseca was there. And the only thing I could think of to try and give us some kind of context about what the situation was is the business of the UEFA club coefficient. Now, I don't know if that's the tool to use, but it's a tool to use. And bizarrely, I thought Tottenham were better than they are, which is most unlike me. Donetsk 18th and Tottenham 15th. So the idea that this guy, or the proposition from some, that this guy's coming from a third world footballing environment to London is not just mean, but it's also pretty inaccurate. What we're looking at here is a transplant procedure, and that's the easiest way I could think of putting it into conventional language or unconventional language. But this will be all down to whether the recipient of the organ, which is Fonseca, rejects it or not. Because what he's been doing in the Ukraine, he's been operating in a very, and again, this isn't being unkind to the guy, but a very narrow pool of players. And I guess it's all to do with geography and language and culture and all that sort of business. But the players that he's been getting in and then letting go back, and it's down to me not having the language, so I'm the guy at fault here. They're all like triple letter word scores in Scrabble, and they come in, they go out, and the model is that they've been using is based upon getting players in, giving them a go, and in the time that he was there, they've been hugely successful, comparatively speaking, because you're talking about the quality of that league, which I would suggest is not packed with UEFA club coefficient high-ranking clubs, if that makes any sense. So we know that that Daniel Levy isn't a fan of loan deals, but that is with the caveat that he doesn't mind them if he can nail out an option to buy. Which is certainly what he's done with the guys we've had through the door recently. And the problem that you have in the loan market, and I'm probably telling you what you already know here, which is for every Oliver Skipp, there are probably 7 or 8 Troy Parrots. And just for anybody about to lose their mind over that comment, Skipp and Parrott are the same age, give or take a few months. Skipp took to moving down a league and got his act together very, very quickly and was endlessly man of the match and went down very well with Norwich fans. Skipp has really struggled, and I've made the comment on the blog, boyhotspur.com, before now, that one of the issues with Skipp is he's not an out-and-out striker. He's now being played as an attacking midfielder, and perhaps he can develop from there. But I think I think football needs to have another look at Parrott, because he didn't succeed at Millwall because he was primarily played as a striker, and it was only when he got to Ipswich they sort of jiggled him around a bit, and he's on that sort of left-hand side thing. But I wonder if he couldn't even play deeper. I don't know, but that's going off on a tangent. The attraction for clubs getting involved in loans to a side like Spurs is obvious. It's a magnificent opportunity to get their name linked with a bigger club, and you know, we've not had any great success, and that's because I wonder if the system surrounding the Premier League, surrounding English football, is the same as it is in the Ukraine and in parts of Russia. Because the players that we've had we had Gedson Fernandes, and you can't judge everybody by these two names, but Gedson Fernandes, who was just too ineffectual for words, and Vinicius, who was, you know, love him or hate him, was just very one-dimensional. So where do we stand with Spurs, generally speaking? Because I think, you know, we've got this thing, we've got hello, good lad. We've got this business with Paratici, and we've got... Are you going to go and sort them out? He's got a bit of a limp on today. We've got this business with... We've got this business with Paratici, and now we've got Fonseca, and it feels a little bit light. It feels a little bit cheap. And I think the reality is that the post-COVID blues have really hit Spurs. And this is a business that is now dramatically cutting its cloth. So we've got to limp through the next few seasons without taking any more body blows. And I think that is the strategy. Spurs don't forget, have already rescheduled their debts on more than one occasion. So there is no depth anymore. There's no safety net. We went out on a limb, or rather ENIC opted to go out on a limb, with the stadium build, and it's now a weight around our necks. Desperately need the crowds to return. I have my doubts. I think I've spoken to you guys about this before. Lots of you must have been out of the house by now. The pubs, there's no business in the pubs. There's no business in the barber shops. All of these places used to be thriving, and people have just gone off the idea entirely. And this is where we're going to run into the core problem over the next 2 seasons at least, which is ENIC are going to have to charge Harrods prices for Spa corner shop products, and that's why you got the 60 quid thing against Aston Villa. I feel ENIC's pain, but I don't have a drop of sympathy or sincerity about their pain. And I can actually see the situation playing out that they need to concede even further. Harry Kane surely can't be expected to prop up the ongoing farce. And I'm pretty sure, I've mentioned on here, but I certainly did on the blog, that Daniel Levy had been ghosting Patrick Kane's calls. And Patrick, remember, is the father, and he and Charlie look after Harry's interests. Son HeungMin is 29 in a few weeks. I think it's the first week of July, and he has been unwilling to agree to a new deal, which was offered to him initially while Poch was still here. The Deadwood. We need to discuss the Deadwood. And I think that, and I hope it isn't the case, I hope because like I say, this Paratici thing and this Fonseca thing, that won't have been easy for them to have had to do this climb down, because you go from Conte and Ten Hag and people you've actually heard of, to these sort of characters. And I think the climb down, I hope it extends to the squad, because it's been my belief for a long time now that Daniel Levy has a very different perception to some of that squad than you and I do. And I think a good point in case is Danny Rose. And Danny Rose's story is tragic, but it's also very simple. Wasn't happy after Carl Walker left. They shared the same agent, and he felt horribly shortchanged. He felt that he was deserving of a seat on that chopper, and he missed the last chopper out of Saigon. That's how Danny felt. And I've not been a brilliant advocate for Rose, because I didn't care for this business of, washing your laundry in public and going to the Sun repeatedly. But the guy, he was depressed. I think he was truly depressed. And I think the combination of mental health and injuries, the Newcastle loan thing didn't do anything for him. And after he went to the Sun, that time it really blew up. And there were pictures of him there with his sort of 3 feet high and rising hair and all that jazz. Daniel Levy, I was told, went round to his house and, put the arm around him and all the rest of it. But the damage was done. The damage was done to him as a human being, and the damage was done as far as the club were concerned, or the training staff were concerned, and he didn't really get picked. And he should have been gently managed somewhere. I don't mean in a nasty way, but gently moved along. And you've got this heartbroken guy, and now, after how long, his contract's expired, and he's gone off to play for Watford. Well, I wish him well, but for his own good, and certainly for the clubs, that should have happened a long time ago. A really long time ago. But Spurs don't do things on the hurry up, which makes me think, or rather convinces me, that all of these appointments, or rather both of these appointments, are part of a scrambling strategy, because they've never been in this situation before. So, conclusions to be drawn. Don't give them any money. I'd like a gun to be put to their head, a metaphorical gun put to their head, where they feel that they need to shunt this on, and whether that's Tavistock, rustle up another CEO, and Daniel goes off to be a specialist in some other department, or is chief executive of the restaurants, or whatever you want to do with him. But this needs to stop, and I don't think it's going to heal itself. I think there needs to be an external force, an external action, in order to get this football club back on track again. Because right now, it's a mess, and much of it is of its own creation. So, don't expect any miracles. But if we received them, we'll obviously be very grateful. That's it for today. I'll speak to you again soon. Keep it on.